Call to order. Welcome everybody to the Millburn Historic Preservation Commission, June 6, 2024, 7:30 p.m. Open public meeting statements in accordance with Section 5 of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 2 through 31, Public Laws 1975. Be advised that notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board Town Hall and serving the officially designated newspapers. A notice stating that this meeting would take place at the Town Hall at 7:30 p.m. on June 6, 2024. Any announcements, but roll call.
Mrs. Canfield is absent. Mr. Davis is absent. Mr. Talavada.
Present.
Mr. Frankel.
Right here.
Mrs. Gaylord is absent. Mrs. Glatt is absent. Mrs. Wanga. Here. Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mr. Seelan is absent.
Okay, next on it is approving the meeting minutes from May 2nd, 2024. We do need somebody that was here, correct?
So we have, who was here? Let's see. It could be you, could be Mr. Frankel, it could be Mr. Talavada.
Good. I'll motion to approve. Second?
Second.
So I have Mr. Talavada,
Yes.
Mr. Frankel,
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga.
I wasn't here.
You weren't here. Mr. Jenkins.
Yes. Okay, moving on to new business. The first portion of order here has to do with the Marywood Nottingham District. I have a motion, a statement that I'll read off here. To start off, as the chair, I move that the Marywood Nottingham Historic District nomination report be picked up from the table where it was laid in October 2023 and be voted on by this commission. Do I have a second?
Second. So Mr. Talavada.
Sorry, what was the question? I didn't understand.
This is to pick up the Marywood Nottingham District.
Yeah, I second.
Well, no, it's already.
I already
Second, so just yes.
So just
Yes, okay. Yes.
Mr. Frankel,
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga,
Yes.
and Mr. Jenkins.
Yes. Okay. Now that the nomination report is before us, I move to discommend the nomination report for Marywood Nottingham because A, the notice to the residents was defective. B, the report had errors in it and it was not up to date. And C, there were protests filed with our attorney, so obviously it was not ready. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Oh, and before that, I would like to open the floor if anybody would like to make a comment from the public about this designation.
I'll make a quick comment. So the Township Committee is in the process of updating the Historic Preservation Commission ordinance. It passed on first read on Tuesday. So essentially, whatever vote you take on this is sort of going to be negated by the HPC ordinance because it's going to outline a new procedure. So if you guys were to want to pick this back up, you would do so under the new procedure, which is not all that much different than the existing procedure. It has additional notice periods, and there's a note in there about protest provisions. So I think it's great that you guys are voting on this. It'll give comfort to the residents of Marywood Nottingham and hopefully put this to bed and we can regroup and figure out what needs to be done next.
Yeah, sounds good. Appreciate that. Okay, Chris.
Mr. Talavada,
Yes.
Mr. Frankel,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga.
Yes.
Okay, and that is everything for Marywood Nottingham. And we'll move forward with new business. First one is application 575, 85 Stewart Road.
Okay.
575. It's the smallest one. Yeah.
Ready?
Do they need to be sworn in?
Oh, fine. And what are your names for the record?
I'm Stephanie Romanero.
And Thomas Bayo, architect for the applicant.
I do. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide on this application to the commission tonight will be the whole truth?
Yes.
I do.
Yes. Shall I go first? Okay, hi, good evening. Thank you for reviewing our application for the structure to cover the tennis court at our new home at 85 Stewart Road. I'm Stephanie Romanero. Unfortunately, my husband Marcos cannot be here tonight, but he really wishes he could. We are moving to the area from New York City with our 4 young children, and we're eager to settle into our new home. Our apologies for not being able to attend the April meeting. Our whole family is really excited to join the Short Hills community, and I wanted to just take this opportunity to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about our family and our hopes and intentions and dreams once we move into our new home. So Marcos and I met while we were attending Brown University, and he was on the soccer team, I was on the ski team, and I mention this because it gives some context for our intentions as they relate to 85 Stewart. First, and I think of utmost importance for our application that's under consideration, my studies were actually in architectural history and urban studies. And I say this because I want to emphasize that maintaining the architectural integrity of the home is of utmost importance to me and my husband. In fact, it is precisely the architectural significance of the home that appealed to us above many other homes that we considered, in looking to move to the area. And as such, we really do have every intention of maintaining and honoring its rich and storied past. In fact, as an architectural historian by training, before we came up with this design and proposal, I spent countless hours just digging into what the history of an enclosed and covered recreation structure, tennis structure, spaces dating to circa 1900 might have even looked like, so that we could make sure we were proposing something that would be in line with the history of the home. And to make sure that whatever we brought forth was something that might have been encountered in the late 1800s, early 1900s. The other reason that I mentioned, our alma mater and our involvement in sports is because our kids seem to be following suit. We have 4 kids. They are all very serious athletes. And part of the reason we bought this home is because it will allow our kids to pursue their endeavors in sports in earnest. Our oldest son right now is training 25, sometimes 30 hours a week. So the tennis court there would be hugely important for training, but also as a family and our recreation. So by covering the tennis court, we can provide a space for them to play and train, rain or shine, winter, summer, spring, fall, as it's getting a little bit dark out, or in the morning on a weekend. So sports and recreation are integral to our family, and being able to enjoy the tennis court year round with our kids is something that is extremely important and is our sole intention in filing the application with HPC. So with that being said, I turn it over to Tom to review the changes that we've made since the last meeting.
Good evening. So since our April hearing, we took a month off because it took a little time to get our arms around this. I have subsequently met with Barton. I have also had other meetings at the site with some members of the commission. And we concluded that we had to make this lightweight steel structure a little bit more compatible. Part of that compatibility stemmed from a review of the house. And you will notice in your documents, we resubmitted plans with photographs of 85 Stewart. The photographs on sheet A2 and A3 begin to illustrate how the house's porch has this copper-greened fascia board and soffit held up by stone pillars with growing ivy. The elaboration of this sort of historical element and the structure that we were presenting led us to think, how can we incorporate that more? Not trying to replicate history. I understand the division of, historically not trying to look like an old structure, but also integrating into the landscape. These aerials from the rented drone that we took illustrate how hidden this tennis structure is. It's almost not visible from anyone except for the home behind us is Mrs. Cogan, who had come here last time, because it's tucked in. We have since planted over 75 trees, green giants. So we're extending the canopy of trees from around the structure to up along Mrs. Cogan's property. So it's really shielded. So the integration of some historic elements of the home has led us to this rendering, which is a three-dimensional illustration of the covered tennis structure. It's a recreational structure. It's probably I hate to say it's temporary, but it's going to suffice with what they want to use it for. Someone may want to take it down at some point. We're trying to cast the canopy with the softened fascia board with the same green. We're going to be planting ivy, and we've embellished the bottoms of each of these columns with stone to try to pick up on the house as closely as we could. We did talk about potentially sinking it, but it's since been determined that the waste lines and the utility lines that come from the cabana cross directly under the tennis court within like 12 inches. So digging down would have been a real difficult. We'd have to do sewage ejection pumps. And it's something that we don't really want to get into. We also had some consideration of sound. What if the ball hits the ceiling of this structure? So we decided to place some matting material on the underside of the steel structure. The roof panels are basically standing seam metal, but they're called FRP panels. And there will be some panels that have the ability to bring light in, natural light, so that you don't have to have lighting in during the daytime. And I hope you will agree that these changes could rise to the level of an approvable application tonight. That's all I have.
Any questions from the commission? Comments?
I have a question. How does their water and sewer line not freeze if it's only 12 inches below the ground?
The water is winterized each year from the house for the cabana. Yeah, a lot of cabanas.
Surprising. And then is there a fence between the pool and the tennis court?
There is. We didn't capture that in this rendering. There is the pool and the tennis court both have a fence around them. Let me see if I have that in page 8. This is the fence.
I'll just bring up, I think, the biggest point the commission had the last time this came in was that we thought that you were trying to skirt zoning laws by putting it at 17 feet
18.
or 18 feet, whatever the height of it was. Have you had anybody actually look at this and say that it's appropriate for a tennis court? Just because most tennis structures that are winterized are much taller than this. So I guess I think I still don't understand as a commissioner how somebody would actually use this to play tennis. 17 feet is very low for an enclosure over a tennis court.
Can I speak to that just as someone who has multiple people in the family that play the sport? Even my 4-year-old is not hitting a ball that high. I mean, he is serving and getting it over the net. I brought this up to the tennis coaches and they said, if the balls are going that high, they're clearly not playing the sport properly. So I don't think the height is even, I don't think we're even gonna get close to the height of that.
The maximum permitted accessory structure is 18 feet. You are correct. It wasn't a skirting attempt.
That was what our concern was. What I'm saying is,
yes.
I'm just restating I'm just trying to restate what our concern was 2 months ago. And I think
Sure.
that was our biggest concern, is that it didn't seem to the commission, again, a lot of people on the board also played tennis, and they were sort of confused why a structure of this height really would be over a tennis court, right? Because everybody, most winterized courts are a bubble that are 30, 40 feet.
Oh,
in
a great
area.
tennis facility, yeah.
So I'm just saying, I've never been to a tennis facility that is 17 or 18 feet, and I would think that, once somebody gets slightly older, that just even serving, they would almost be hitting the roof of this, right?
So
So I think that's the concern that we had, and so I don't know that this addresses that concern, so.
Okay.
I'm just restating what our concern was.
fair enough. This is a facility to train hitting, serving, and it's not a full playing facility. I mean, 4 people can play. You're gonna hit the roof, you might hit the beam. That's gonna happen. I'm a terrible tennis player, and I'm sure I would. But for the purpose of what they needed it, they'd rather be compliant than non-compliant.
I have a question, Mr. Bio. The sheet that I have tonight anyway is A3. What is that? Is that a new thing that we need to mark on as an exhibit?
Sure, I can
or
mark
was
this as
that-
an exhibit.
Okay, but
It is a
was
new
that-
rendering. I produced it for the
Okay, fine.
benefit of the
Should-
presentation.
So, since this is A3, what do you want to mark that?
We'll mark it as A4,
Fine,
and I'll submit it to you.
okay.
And I dated it 6/6/24.
Thank you.
I have two questions. One, the roof of that material, does it match with the other roofs on these houses?
Not really. It's going to be a stainless steel panel, preferably lighter in color, because what will happen if it's dark, it's going to absorb a lot of heat, and it's going to radiate that heat downward. So it's probably going to be a lighter colored metal. Maybe I would call it light gray, blue gray, perhaps.
I think.
Kind of
I
galvanized.
know one of the things is preserving the looks. Whether we are, I understand it is behind the public eye, but still, in terms of other structures in the house, this one will look a little different. I don't know if that is acceptable. That's one concern for me. The second thing, the other day, a neighbor who was here, she mentioned about something about soundproofing. I understand this is a practice code, not a match code, but I'm not sure if the element of sound is addressed.
I think it is, and I'll tell you why. I think when you're playing tennis and it's open-ended, you're going to hear the balls. You're going to hear that the constant, play. I think the roof, especially with its shape, is going to reverberate the sound back down to the tennis court. So the nature of having a roof like this, sound underneath, is going to reverberate back down to the tennis court. And I will tell you, I think it'll be quieter because of the roof. Now, it is an open-sided structure, but they're not
What's the
doing any.
material on the roof again?
It's a standing seam metal. It's called FRB. It's kind of these panels, and it's made of stainless steel and aluminum. It's aluminum. The roof is aluminum. Sorry, not stainless steel. Aluminum. And we're gonna put some matting on there so that if you hit the roof, because
Dampens the sound.
yeah, I'm sure you have a 4-year-old who's gonna go, try to get the thing to drum, if you will. So we're gonna put some padding in there.
Is it? Okay, I have a few questions. I know you mentioned the green color. Is, just to confirm that, is the patina, is that like a patinaed copper that's on the house? Was that explored about possibly putting copper on that so it would patina over time and match the house?
No, we didn't explore it. There are some integration elements between aluminum and copper. They don't get along as compatible metals.
Okay,
We thought that we can handle it best with some just color.
okay. But it's not gonna be that color, right?
I tried to get that color as close to the green as possible.
Okay,
And this is an applied color. It's painted.
okay.
So it's not an anodized aluminum, for instance.
I got you. Okay. I imagine a painter should be able to get pretty close to that if somebody comes on site and can match it. Okay.
The idea is when you're in the yard and you look at this sort of whimsical structure, it harkens a little bit back to the house.
Yeah, no, I understand that, yeah. Okay, and I know last time you were here, because the mention of the neighbor with the sound, there was also a concern with the lights being bright at certain times of day. Was that addressed in any way whatsoever? I know last time you mentioned you had cut down on the number of lights.
We did. We actually brought them into the court a little bit because of the angle. So
Okay.
I don't think we'll get a lot of light spill. The lights are going to be down lights. I don't think we'll get a lot of spillage, but do you want to speak to the hours?
Yeah, well, I was also gonna say about the lights, didn't we also, with the light panels in the roof so that we get more light in,
Yeah.
so that we could decrease
A
the
couple of the
lights?
aluminum panels in the roof are actually translucent.
Okay, so
But
when the sun's out, you don't have to have the lights.
the lights, if the lights are on, you're not going to get a lot of spillage. But there was also a question from the neighbor about hours.
Yeah, I think she had asked whether, she was concerned we'd be playing like all hours of the night. I mean, first of all, my kids are young. They have school. They will not be out there playing, past evening at best. But also, we were happy to comply with what was she asking? The
Zero
hours
Park
of the-
has hours.
Yeah, whatever like the public hours are of play. I mean, that's totally reasonable for us. I mean, we don't need to be playing tennis late at night.
And we'll accept that as a condition of approval, that the hours of play are limited and, will match the parks.
Yeah, I don't even know if that's something that we can even technically vote on anyways, but I do appreciate.
All right, so we're making
I
a public
appreciate
statement.
you, yeah, that's totally fine. You mentioned it, going back to the sound, the possibility of like temporary walls or something that could be put in place if it does get too loud to prevent that noise spillage from going to your neighbor's houses. Is that anything else that was explored or?
Marcos really wanted the open air. He doesn't want walls.
I do, there's something that him and I spoke about, which I don't know if this is relevant for now, but, there are various outdoors, panel type things that can be put on and raised and lowered. It's something he's actually in his profession very familiar with. So that is something that we can explore. I mean.
Hunter Douglas, right?
Yes.
He's the CEO of Hunter Douglas.
So, the outside sort of panels or shades or whatever you want to call them is something he is very aware of. And it's something, I'm sure he would consider if.
Okay. Yeah, especially if you were going to possibly use it in the winter to keep it at a warmer temperature, which could also help out with the noise at other times of the year. So, okay. But again, all those things are not things that would be predicated our decision here. It's just something that was brought up by the neighbor. We appreciate you addressing it.
Yeah, I mean, we're reasonable. We're very reasonable. I mean, we do have 4 kids. So they already were going there and they're playing. I mean, they're loving having space coming from New York City. So this, they're going to be using it. But the tennis court is already there, right? I mean, so that tennis court's there. It predates us. And, I know we looked at the sound levels with the decibels and it was actually.
It's under 55.
Yeah, it's,
Which is voice, outdoor voice.
Yeah, so we have documentation of that too, that this, the sound is not going to travel any more than, or be any louder. We heard that concern and we wanted to make sure we were addressing it, so.
How do you know it's under 55? Do you have a study or some
I can try to
documentation?
pull it up.
Yes.
We do have paperwork, yeah.
Yes, she pulled it up.
Is that another
Exhibit?
witness?
No, we're not testifying to that. It's an answer to the question about how loud a tennis ball hits a racket in a court. If you need that submitted, we can accept that as a condition of the application, and I'll submit an exhibit to that.
Thank you. Please do.
That's it for me. Bart, do you have any comment?
No, I mean, I appreciate you taking these 2 months and researching this a lot more and trying to come up with a more appropriate response that fits in better contextually with the architecture of the house and everything, and even researching tennis facilities. And, my only question is on the vines, are these going to be vines that can survive the winter and everything?
I mean, so if I can, I think the idea is that we're taking what's already existing on the house and growing and being able to use that and plant it over, so they're not green all winter long, but they come back every year. I mean, they are in full force right now and we've done nothing to.
Ivy's pretty hardy. Actually, killing it is the #1 goal of most people. Keeping it alive.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, is there a motion to approve? Or do we have a motion to approve with conditions?
Well, it sounds like the conditions are the green color, the hours stop at evening. You didn't define evening.
No, we're going to go on the ordinance.
public- yeah, whatever the
Milburn
public-
ordinance for Zero Park.
Zero Park.
And they submit the documentation on the decibel level, and you're going to provide a copy of A4. Those are the only
Copy of what?
The render.
Oh, I'll leave that, yes.
Oh, all right, fine.
I'll leave it for you to
All
have.
right, that's fine. Were there any other conditions?
I don't believe so.
I just have a question. So you said they researched other facilities. So are there facilities like this? Like, is there
She can answer.
Here's your research.
Yeah, I mean, these are just some of them, but I did a deep dive into structures that were built, turn of the century. So this one is from 1902 that would use the light panels and this, steel structure. This one's in New York, I think, and there were several others, maybe in Europe and England,
They're on this page.
that would use a similar approach. I'm happy to pass it over if you wanted to. Is that
Do you know
okay?
the height of these structures?
I don't know.
This one looks like about 18 feet. Can I,
Yeah. It's a pretty short window, so that's 18 feet.
I didn't measure it. Yeah, this is 3. But no, we don't need to go through these. Okay.
So we have a motion to approve with the 3 conditions that are there.
3 conditions, correct.
Do we need to read those out?
Well, the green color to match the covered porch, the documentation that it's 55 decibels or less, that it complies with the ordinance, and that the playing will stop in the evening, and the hours will match the ordinance for the park.
Okay.
So,
Do we have a motion to approve with matching of the green color, the decibel level study being provided, and the operating hours the same as Jarrow Park?
Has the neighbor given you guys, have you reviewed the new changes with the neighbor?
Yes,
She's
she's,
comfortable with it?
unfortunately, I can only not testify for her. I did share with her everything.
Chair, we need to call for the public hearing
Oh,
before we
I'm
take
sorry.
vote.
Before a vote, open the floor for public comment.
So I have a comment. I generally believe if you're gonna do something, you should do it once, you should do it right. And I think that the kids, while they're young now, are going to outgrow the facility given its height. I understand there's a sewage line a foot under there, but I really think that it would be short-sighted of you guys not to take this opportunity to dig it down and, provide for more height. Otherwise, I think they're gonna outgrow this by the time they're teenagers. And it also, if you ever move, it would potentially have to be removed, whereas if it was done properly and had more height, then it's something that maybe future owners would be able to retain and use. That way it wouldn't be, sort of temporary structure. I understand that, yeah, you'd have to put, a small sewage pump or something, but I think that's, if you're gonna be doing a project like this, it's probably best to do it right. So that's my opinion on this. And
Well, they can always resurface the court and lower it. The lowering it, like you said, is an accommodation for someone who's volleying. If the height wasn't set by me, I just said, what's the compliant height is 18. They did their research, said that's fine. So they could lower it. We did, research. We had some
we can go for a
beautiful.
variance as well.
But I don't think the one and done, they want to keep it at that level. Marcus doesn't want to lower it.
Yeah, there was a public comment. If you want to come forward, does he need to be sworn as well?
State your name and.
Oh, my name is Benjamin Lam, and I'm from 275 Harshon Drive. So I really appreciate our neighbor to put those packs in the ceiling to reduce the noise level, and I really appreciate all the changes they make. So I just only have a few questions, and I just want to confirm, and that's it. So I just want to know what is the new height of the structure? How tall is it? Is it still 18 feet right now?
So the 18 feet is measured from the center to the peak of the ridge
Okay.
on the exterior.
Okay, and then I also heard that you plant a lot of trees, right, already.
They did.
And when they mature, how high will the trees be?
Many of the trees are already over 25 feet high.
Okay,
The newer trees are all about 12 feet, and they grow quickly. They're green giants. They'll probably grow a foot every 2 years, something like that.
Okay, and like, would they be reached about like over like 20 feet when they like mature?
Yeah, 25 feet, it's about the
Some of them are
maturity.
even taller than that.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
30 feet maybe. I
So-
don't know exactly.
Because like we actually at the other side of the backyard, like from your house, and then so we just want to make sure is there like, enough trees to like kind of like blocking the lights or like the noise level would be, but that would be good for us. I mean,
I think so.
yeah. So that's all the questions I have.
Okay,
Yep. Thank you.
thank you. Do we have any other comments about the height or? Would you like to proceed with a vote, or is that still a sticky?
Motion needs a second. If you made the motion, we're waiting for a second.
So
I'll
as it
second it
stands-
if they follow and, provide all the required documents to substantiate what they say. Then I'll second it.
Okay, that's sufficient, Chris?
Well, I just want to make sure the commissioner understands, if there are conditions of the motion, they have to follow it.
I would like to see whatever they submitted as evidence, more as documented, not as a comment, like 55 decibel. That's a very significant statement.
So I can pull it up if we can wait. I just don't, do you know it's 50? I just have to pull up the.
We'll submit it as part of our application.
So do we need to have that before it's,
It's up to the commissioner. He's saying he'd like to see it.
so you would like to see that in?
It should be part of the documents that you guys submit, so at least.
Not to delay it, so I'm speaking on behalf of my client, not to delay it, but if you can't find it quickly.
I can look.
But is that the decibel level also of the tennis ball hitting a metal roof?
No, that part, that's why we put the padding, that's why we're gonna try
No,
to,
I know, but you're gonna have skylights and things like that.
yeah, they are,
All right, according to the acoustic group at the University of Luleå, Sweden, rain on asphalt shingles is about 46 decibels compared to rain on metal roof, 52. What does that mean? Most of the humans can't distinguish the difference. The noise difference, there's multiple emails
I
with
think it's-
decibels.
right,
Look here.
just to keep, I know you have a full agenda, we'll submit it, and you have the right to call me back here. I mean, I don't know what to say.
And how would we motion that then? That it's, the conditions have to be met?
Conditions have to be met, otherwise there's no permit.
Okay. So does that mean we have to see them first and approve them, or it's just, we said that they just have to submit something?
Yeah, they submit it to the professionals and to the building department.
Okay, they have to approve, so if they come back and it's not anywhere near what they're telling us it is,
But I guess I'm trying to even wonder what the statement is, because, again, like, I work in construction, we do ambient noise readings, and when we do noise readings during construction, and so we have records to, and we will do this for months on end, and then we will do it during construction and vibrations. So what are you measuring exactly, and how are you measuring it? Is my question, right? Like, I don't understand what you're
I think
measuring
the
or-
spirit of
or
the
stating.
question was, would the structure improve the condition of a tennis court? Because the tennis court's there today. And I stated, well, with the roof, you're gonna get this reverberation back down to the court and probably less out to the atmosphere. We are surrounded by trees, and the nearest house to this structure is pretty far away. I mean, it's like, they're tucked in their backyard away from a lot of homes. I would say that the sound should not be an issue. So the comment about 55 is because we did do some research, and I came across something just to answer the question. And that's why I said I think we can provide something to you, but I don't know what the measurement calibration was. Was it the ball at full velocity against the floor onto another racket? I don't know. Quite honestly, didn't focus on it.
But also this tennis court is already here, so
No, I'm just asking the question because it's a provision of it, so what would somebody measure it against? Like, it's a measurement, right? So I'm not asking, it almost doesn't even matter about your project. I'm asking what the actual, like, what is in there, because is it standing, 40 feet away from it? Is it, those are the types of things that usually when you're putting decibel levels into something and what our codes are for decibel levels.
Sure.
it's, you know, the jackhammer guy right at the jackhammer and then the jackhammer, you know, 200 yards away. Those are two different things and those are stated in code. So I guess you made a statement and so you are, again, this happened last time, right? You stated something as a professional. So I'm asking you what that statement is. You're here as an expert. So if you're telling us, I just want to know from you as an expert what you're stating.
Well, would it be fair to just rescind the 55? I don't have the data on it, but I can only testify that I think with a roof, that the structure will be quieter than it is currently. And I'm stating that as a professional, mostly because I know how sound travels. It travels every which way but loose. But with a roof, it's going to focus the sound down to the court. And without a roof, the sound just travels. So if removing the statement of 55 gets us past this roadblock, I mean, if people complain, they're going to come to the building department. And the question is going to be, how did you approve the structure? Did you ask about sound? I think that the statement is really the roof helps to muffle the sound. And maybe I shouldn't focus on the 55.
Okay, I'm just saying, I guess, and this is just, it has nothing to do with your project, but this is the second time you've been in front of this commission in the last few weeks or few months that you've made statements and you're a professional. And so you cannot make statements here as a professional on technical matters if you don't have a way to back them up.
Okay,
That's all I'm saying.
That's fair,
the only thing that
absolutely.
I'm saying, because it does become convoluted.
yes, and I can see how. Yeah. So would it be fair for me to rescind the 55 decibel element? Because how we measure it is as important as what the number is, right? Like you said, is it measured at the court, off the court? And I don't recall the surrounding data on it.
I appreciate all the hard work you guys put in. But being our job here is to look at it carefully and give our thoughts. I think there are still a lot of questions from last time to this time. So I think maybe this needs to be addressed properly. So that's my comment. I'm sorry.
What other questions?
There's one on sound. I'm not sure if it is pertaining to historical preservation committee, but there is also questions on the color, right? There was one more. There was a third person. Oh, that was just
The operating hours.
operating hours. That is not a problem. I think those are the two things that I see. And then when it comes to the sound, it was represented by the neighbors. I don't see the neighbor here or saying that, okay, we are good with it. There's some other neighbors are here, but
But didn't she
There's
have the
still-
opportunity to come if she wanted? Like,
Yeah,
she's
she-
aware.
You shouldn't base your action or inaction one way or the other on whether the neighbor came, because she did come and she did know that it would be carried. I mean, that was publicly announced,
oh,
so,
okay.
She knew that this was happening.
I think they would like to see the structure move forward so they can get it installed. They're moving into the house. When are you moving?
Imminently, within probably 2 weeks. We're already halfway in. We're just
Couple of
not,
weeks.
kids are finishing
Um,
school.
In an effort to try to diminish what is probably misspoken data, I would like to remove that calibration element of 55 decibels, because I think it does. It muddles this whole thing, especially not having physical data to make my point backed up. I will just let it stay on the merits that a roof will help contain the sound better than than not having a roof, and let the board see this application in that context and not the context of a misspoken decibel reading.
Is that sufficient to have a vote?
that's up to you. But.
I guess I can make the motion, we'll see if we get a second.
There you go.
So we're gonna remove the decibel
The
portion of it.
testimony's been rescinded
That's
on
been
that,
rescinded.
so.
So motion to approve with the color of the structure, the green color matching the main house, and the operating hours conforming with Gerald Park.
Yes, the color as closely as we can to the house,
Yes.
because there's some patina differences in that green. So there's a fairly wide array. I tried to get it right with the color I've
Yeah, that's
depicted.
okay.
And that exhibit will be submitted
Yeah,
as
that will
part
be
of.
provided, of course,
Yeah.
yes. All right, is there a second? Jenny, if we don't have a second, what do we do?
The motion fails if it has no second. You may want to not have that happen and adjourn, ask us if you
Right.
would like to adjourn the application.
Same thing that happened last time.
Well, we should adjourn because we'll have to come up with information and get more data on specific events now.
Okay. I mean, I haven't done this before, so.
Yeah, no, we don't want to be denied. We would like to have the privilege of coming back, and I will get some hard pat data on kind of sounds.
Okay, so you consent to an adjournment to the next meeting?
Yes,
Okay, this application will be carried with no notice if the commission is okay with that. No further public notice.
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
On that?
Yep.
Okay. Motion to adjourn and carry this to next month's meeting
With no further public notice.
with no further public notice. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I can second that.
Okay.
Sure.
Mr. Tatalagata,
Yes.
Mr. Frankel,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga.
thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, next we have, my apologies, application 577, 122 Cypress Street.
Just so I know what's going on, the first case was pushed? Is that what happened?
Adjourn.
We're ready to be sworn in.
Give me a
1
second.
minute.
State your names for the record, please.
Cheryl Lowe.
John Bentley Wiggins.
Timothy Plessy.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide on the application tonight will be the whole truth?
Yes, I do.
I do.
Go ahead.
You guys do.
Okay, so hello, everyone. My name is Cher. It's really great to be here in front of you. Just a little bit about myself. My husband and I and my family moved here during the pandemic. I usually introduce ourselves as a statistic that got moved over from New York City. But we came here and we fell in love with Melbourne. And so we've been here for a couple of years. We have 2 kids. One is in the Wyoming elementary school. The second one is going to go to kindergarten at Wyoming next year. And we found this house on Cypress and we fell in love with the location. We've loved the location for a while and now have the opportunity to really think of this home as a home that we're going to live in for a little while. So we're really actually quite excited about renovating this place and making this a space where we can really host a lot of community gatherings. So thank you for just, reviewing our application, and I'm going to turn over to JB.
Yeah, I know you guys are volunteers, so thanks for, taking the time to consider this. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, do you want to qualify me or should we? Or?
Your license is?
Yes, I'm a licensed architect in New York and New Jersey and been licensed for
We accept you.
30 years. I guess I'm going to move to the cover letter I sent you guys on April 8th. They came in on top of the application form.
Oh, that one, okay.
That one, yeah. Right. Really what, this is a split on Cypress. It's, over in that R5 zone. And what we're really attempting to do tonight is to renovate the building, clean it up. It's a little bit in disrepair. And add over what I'm going to call the living side. Right? So if you think of it as a split with the basement, with the garage, then the living floor, the bedroom floor, we're asking to go above that living floor. So that's what we really did. We kept the integrity of the split in mind, but we cleaned up the building. So I'm just going to move right on to my drawings. So on my HPC one, which is exactly the same as your HPC one. And it has the existing survey and then the proposed survey. And on the proposed survey, you can see on the right side here how we add over on that right side of the building. Right? We pulled our second floor in so we can conform to our side combined setback. Right? This is a case that doesn't need a variance. It's all conforms to zoning. But really, it's a new building. We do this thing where we cross-hatch one direction to sort of show that second floor addition, and then we have cross-hatched the other way in the rear where we have the one-story addition that we added behind to get a bigger family room. That's what those two little cross-hatches are that are going on. And if I go to my HPC 2, you come into the garage, right? The garage door is still facing the street just like it is. It actually couldn't go any other way. The lot's too narrow. We renovated that lower level, which is sort of like the slab on grade area. I'm not going to go down into the basement. I'm going up to what I'm going to call the living space. So we come up into the existing living area, which is really like a living room, kitchen, dining room. We've added on behind so we can create a family room. I added a little bit in the front here to kind of make the entryway a little wider. Added a portico. And this area is really a one-story building because it's a existing non-conforming setback. So when we come with our new building, that's why we're pulled into that point. I think it's about 13 and a half feet off of the setback. I come up to my HPC 3 sheet, and what we did is we are now in that existing bedroom area, and I walk up to all new space, right? So we create a new 2 bedrooms for the kids with a Jack and Jill bath in the middle. We renovated the lower floor down here, the existing floor, as the primary bedroom. I'm going to go to my HPC 4 now. What we really did is we added that element in brick on the sort of above on top of the existing roof. It's actually also this element on that left side elevation, my one-story building, and then the family room addition in the rear. We've kind of just updated the garage doors, but left the garage door really where it was. I come to the rear elevation to see the one-story building and the 2-story building beyond. We did a rendering of what's going on, which I think you have a copy of inside your packet. But really what it is we have the existing garage where we put in I guess I should call this A1. It's my A1. This is a new exhibit for you. So we took the existing garage doors and just put in new doors, left that existing second floor bedroom wing in place. Here's the existing living area, and this building is our new building that we added up on the second floor. So we kept the whole integrity of the split. We just really added a second floor on top. And then we produced a landscape plan to kind of give us some foundation planting. We're trying to make a little more development of the rear yard right now to sort of flatten it out a little bit. But basically, we've just added foundation plan and buffer planting. Okay. This is kind of a 1950 split. It's an infill house into the district. We didn't want to tear the house down. We wanted to try to keep the integrity of the split in place. And I'd say we actually pulled it off and cleaned up the house itself with kind of minimal destruction to the neighborhood. Are there any questions?
So you said, do we have that?
Yeah, I don't know if you have. I thought you
Okay.
did, but maybe we didn't get it to you correctly.
Okay.
Because this was one of those ones that I gave Barton in pieces. And Barton yelled at me. So that I can't do that anymore. But we were rushing because they want to get in and get it going because nobody likes to pay 2 mortgages.
So we need to mark that as a.
Yeah, I called it A1, but I just don't.
Okay.
Commission questions, comments? No, no.
You want me to send it around?
I don't think so. I
It's
think it's,
light. It's light. I can send
we can see it, and also from the drawings here.
So other than the front elevation, none
Yeah.
of the elevations are on the public eye, is that right? The left side elevation,
Well, I mean, it's all kind of visible from the street. I mean, like if you look, the houses are close together, but you could look at it. You could see down the side of the street of these homes. I think this is, it's probably 20 feet between houses, enough room to see by. Plus the grade is kind of dropping. So,
Now, is the whole front of the house going to be brick, or, because I
Yeah,
can't
we
see
took
from
the-
here really.
it's existing brick, and we
Okay.
just took the front and it's existing brick on the front only. So we left it as brick and we added to the brick.
so the extension will be also.
Yeah, the front. We left the front. Well, as soon as we got to the sides, we changed to,
So that'll carry like the siding that's
siding.
currently on the back of the house?
yeah, we
basically?
really just left the side.
Okay.
There's no change to the porch.
We have, that porch is new. It's not there. The building, the actual front entry is only to about where my finger is. We added about 2 more feet to the front entry. It's really narrow if you look on like my BOA2 sheet. And I just wanted to get a little more width into it. So this massive brick got a little wider, but the door is still this way. And that roof we extended to make it covered front. Like, I don't think there's no front porch now, right? On that house? I also have the existing drawings.
Yeah, there's some stairs, but they're kind of like
There's stairs, but they're
off
just
to the
don't,
side, yeah.
we did all the existing drawings because, we have to do them anyway to do our work, but you also wanted them, so they're included in your packet. But you can see how the front
Mhm.
entrance foyer is really shallow, almost to the point where when you swing the door open, you're kind of hitting the back wall. So I just moved it over a couple of feet, and then I made a little front porch with that roof in front of it. There's no roof over the steps right now, but that's my
The
existing.
steps are changed for the, right? Before you guys have steps.
Yeah, it's just steps.
Yeah, I changed the steps in the front. But here's that existing bedroom wing, and really all we did was add over this area to the right of it, which is up 4 feet, I would say.
Okay. And I know you had that one rendering of the landscape, but in terms of the path, since you're changing the stairs, is that going to be completely demoed and replace the walkway up to the front? And what is
Yeah,
that
I
being
Yeah, well,
replaced with? Is it,
this is like a new that would be a new walkway.
okay, is it,
Yeah,
is
blue
it
stone.
brick or is it just colored?
It's colored, but I don't think it's really blue stone.
Okay. Anything else? Barton, anything from you?
I mean, it's a non-contributing house that dates from 1953, so we recommended approval. And even though the center massing of the house is greatly increased by the addition of a second level, we found that the proposed exterior renovations will actually, I think, help home's curb appeal, and it has matching roof slopes, windows, exterior materials, which should all help maintain a sense of the neighborhood's historic architectural character.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Mr. Talavada,
Yes.
Mr. Franco,
Yes.
Mrs. Gaylord, Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga.
Thank you.
Yep. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, moving on, the next application is 578, I believe. Yes, 578, 12 Chestnut Street. Five, seven, eight. Our day is Yaming. Oh, is this?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm coming back. I'm sorry.
All right.
But then I'm leaving. That's it.
I don't think you need to be sworn in again, but.
Okay.
State your name, for the record.
My name is Yamin Pan. I'm owner of 12 Chestnut. I have 3 kids. I want to make this house, make the new renovation.
Okay, we're just swearing you so far. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I know, with 3 kids,
I'm
you gotta
nervous.
talk fast. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you'll provide to the commission tonight on this application will be the whole truth?
Okay, I swear. Yeah.
Okay, You're still
So,
sworn.
her baby was refusing to let her leave tonight. That's what's going on. I don't know how else to say it. That's
It's
really
almost
the way it is, right?
4 years old. Yeah.
Yeah, so she brought her. So that's what she's promised to be quiet. Okay, you can just, well, these guys bought the house a year ago, I guess, maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah, year and a half ago. It's a big yard and a big house. And I have 3 children. I want to make it more fabulous, a good, better environment for my children since I have ability to make it better with things help.
So we started it and then we kind of stopped it for a while because they wanted a little time to live in the house. And now we came back and we're hoping to come and seek approval from you tonight. This house is a little awkward. I don't know if you had a chance to go up to this site, but you actually drive around and you drive in the rear. I'm just gonna show it to you off of the existing, this is the existing basement level. And you have a copy of this in your packet in the back. But you actually drive around right now and then you turn and you come underneath into the garage. And it's a little bit awkward because it means there's actually sort of no backyard because the driveway is low and it sort of bifurcates a yard in half. So, and this house also is in sort of bad condition. I mean, it's ready for some work. It was an estate sale like the last one, and it kind of needs to get cleaned up. So we started working on it, and then her husband spends a lot of time in Peru.
Travel, business
Peru,
travel.
is it?
Yeah.
No, Chile.
Chile.
Chile. He stays like in Chile all the time. So it's almost impossible for me to get the two of them together.
Yeah.
But so we started working, then we stopped a little bit, and now we've come back and just want to kind of finish this little project up so we can move along. But existing is the basement. Half of the basement is actually a garage. I come up to the first floor. It's like a typical kind of infill colonial, right? You walk in, has a sort of narrow entrance foyer, a living room on the left and a dining room, just like this sort of regular kind of, I don't know, I guess it's a 50s or a late 40s colonial. And then there's a powder room back there. This was originally the kitchen area, which later received this addition on the back. It's a one-story addition that was done. Looks to me like it was done in like the 80s, I think. And this building was also added on the right side at some later date. But the primary building is really that sort of rectangle, which is pretty similar to most of these rectangles. You know, that third sort of.
Could you tell me what we're looking at here? What
I'm on the existing.
E2?
Oh, I'm on my E2, I'm sorry. Way in the back. I started in the back on this, like way beyond all of them. It's like, probably like 3 from the end of that little packet.
You have the HPCs in the back.
They're way behind it.
Existing ones.
I confused you because I started with the existing drawings this time. I should have made the packets backwards.
Okay, so we're at 2.
Yeah, I messed it up. But then I come upstairs and it's really, you know, a 4-bedroom house with 2 baths. Just existing hip roof, right? Just a regular standard colonial with probably originally a screen porch or an open porch that was later enclosed. This addition work was all added on the side. When I get into the rear, you can see the sort of round window and this 1-story addition that was all later added onto the back of the house. I'm gonna just get done with the existing and move to the proposed. So I brought you back to HPC 1 now. But back to the first sheet, and I'm really sorry to do this to you. That's where we are now.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry,
So,
it doesn't has the backside with the case.
you know, go ahead. So then,
Thank you.
on my left side again is the existing site plan, and you can see it. You come in, you drive around, you go underneath into that garage, which is basically half the basement. There's, you know, some existing non-conforming setback on the left side, existing non-conforming setbacks on the right side. You know, we're trying to leave the kind of house as it is. So we took the house and we added, I'm now to my proposed survey, we added behind the existing building. When I do this crosshatch, I'm going to say to the right, that is a 2nd floor addition over an existing 1-story building. And then in the rear behind it is a 2-story addition that we added. And it lets us come in with the driveway and turn into the garage on the primary level on the 1st floor. We also removed the buildings that were over these 1-story additions that were on the right side as part of that work. But we left the primary building as it was. Now I'm on my HPC 2 sheet, and we've rotated the building because it's too long, right? It's big. So now I'm coming in, you can see my primary building is literally right here. The 1-story addition on the right side has all been removed. It was a little kind of added on at a later date. And we left the enclosed side porch, right, renovated into a guest bedroom, guest bath. But we came in, we sort of have created a foyer, created a new stairway. You can see where we pulled the old stairway out of here. And then create a living room. We come, and then as we walk back in this site, you know, the grade is dropping. So we came here, we stepped down 3 steps so that we can get closer to the grade and not have as many steps going from the garage into the house. So when we got out of that initial building, we come down 3 steps, we get a kitchen, dining room, we have another side entrance to come into this house. And then we come back, eating area, family room behind. And then we have this sort of 3-car garage, and we get a patio that opens up. You know, this is actually a really big site, but narrow. So by doing it this way, we could get a patio opened up to a pretty big yard. I'm coming up with my driveway on the side, that we've removed all that 1-story building, we come in and we can turn into the garage as we turn that way. We go to mine. Yeah, the survey says 329, but it's actually really 309. They measured to the center line of the road. These guys. It's actually really a big lot. It's 39,000 or 29,000 square feet, but very narrow. Everything we did here actually conforms to zoning. There's no variance. So now it's an R3 zone. So now I come up onto the second floor. We have our space. We come up. We just have a loft space, bedrooms, bathrooms. We come back. And then in the rear, we create a primary bedroom suite. A stairway that actually goes up to an attic space. We come up to a sort of a small attic. When we show that little line where that oval, I'm on my HPC 4 now, that oval and the arrow, we're saying that the ceiling height at this wall is actually 5 feet high. And then where that dotted line is where it transitions to 8 feet. My guys actually are pretty good here because they ticked it on the side, on the top here. It's 5, 6, 7, up to 8. But it gives us like a playroom and a bedroom and a bath up there. If I come to my front elevation on my HPC 5, right, we've kind of removed that building on the side. We left our existing front. We've actually added a portico to it, and we've just renovated that building that was already there. So from the streetscape, it pretty much looks like the same house as it does now. When I start to go down the side, though, this is entirely different. There's my primary building right there. This area in here is that 1-story addition. Right? We've added over it, and then we've added our garage as we come back. So we added a lot of depth to this building. Now I'll show it to you a little clearer with the rendering. All the materials are all wood. This is a really high quality house. This is not like a spec house or something. This is all good material. Then we come on the rear elevation. You can see the garage piece and the family room, master bedroom suite in that little attic area. Then walk down the other side, you can see the portico in the front. We come down our sort of primary building with the old, at one point of, covered porch, and our new building as we move down. Then the final thing in here is just the existing drawings, which I sort of already went through. So I'll just show you how it works. I had the renderer, I wanted them to rotate a little bit so you could sort of see the length of the house and what we did. That's our front building, and then we just came back and to get our length, and we kind of pulled out our garage so we could get a little bit of depth and a little visual separation of the building, and created that gable in the rear to get that third floor space, and also to just break up the mass of it so it wasn't a big line. When I come to my landscape plan, we have the same thing going on where we're really doing foundation planting and just cleaning up the site. There's actually some nice gardens on this site that we are starting to pull the material and get it all into one area so we can save it to reuse it. But it's all a little bit really overgrown, but there's some good material in there. Okay. So what this allows us to do is it allows us to update the housing stock and make it larger without making it look like crazy larger, because actually, I guess in a sense, you couldn't make it too much wider anyway, because the lot itself is narrow. But, we were being careful here to keep the integrity of the main building in place. We probably actually made it look a little narrower by removing that one-story piece that was on the right side. It's very difficult to see into the depth of this site because it's very wooded. The neighboring house is really buffered. Right here, it's a house that's just on the market. I think it just went under contract yesterday or today. It's a pretty house. It's to the right. And so I think we've been able to sort of thread this addition into this building without it being really disruptive at all to the neighborhood. And we've retained the character of the existing structure. Actually improved it. Is there any questions?
Any questions from the commission?
So you're saying materials and windows, what are you expecting for?
We have Pella windows, simulated divided light, on the outside and inside. Wood window. The siding is all wood siding. Trim is, I don't know. I'd like to use this Orad material for trim. More because the pine is just such a nightmare now. And so it's either that or we'd use a solid AZAC and paint it and sort of round the corner so it looks more like wood when you look at it. Because you ever really look at the AZAC, you can see it's a little glossy and a little square. But the AZAC is probably actually a good alternative here because the pine seems to me to be rotting in about 10 years now. The pine is a nightmare. But all of the materials, it's an asphalt roof, slate line. I think we did a slate line roof on this. But it's all. Let me see what we did. It's all like a high-end material. This is really a high-end building. In a really nice area. It's a great location. It's a house I wish I bought, actually. It's but a fiberglass, like a slate line roof. It's the roof we'd want to use. I think the Camelot is a little too flashy, actually. I don't know how you feel about it.
The GAF slate line's good.
Yeah. I think it's just a little too much, the Camelot.
And the roof over the porch and these two overhangs by the garage, that's copper, standing seam copper?
I think we have it as asphalt.
Or is that asphalt?
We
as
have
well?
it, sure, let me see.
In the renderings,
The rendering, we don't even see it because we have that flat roof. Yeah, we have really a asphalt roof.
so even down here is going to be asphalt.
Oh, no, the only place we put copper is on this left side.
So on the left side, but it's,
Yeah,
it's
that
also
left
on the-
side, I'm sorry, that building is actually.
So that, and then also the little eaves that come out over like the garage and the entryway there. Is that asphalt or is that copper?
We did that,
I think in the renderings it's copper, but I'm not sure
It's
it's
not copper.
asphalt.
It's not copper.
Oh, it's not?
It's not.
Okay,
no, existing,
Yeah, I think.
but he means proposed.
yeah.
We, we have standing seam coppered that
Okay.
porch roof on the left. And you're right, we actually coppered the front roof.
Okay.
And we probably coppered them in the garage roof, or we should copper it. That little skirt roof. I think the renderer didn't pick it up yet. We coppered that too. We put those three pieces of copper here.
Okay. And I did notice in the plans the chimney's being demoed. Is there a reason it's being demoed? Is it no longer, is it
I think we took one chimney and left one chimney. Or we took it maybe for the plan.
I think one's being replaced possibly. The one that's at the front.
Like this chimney is remaining,
Yes.
the one on that side.
I think it says in the plans though that that's being
I think
demoed and
there's another
replaced.
chimney. Oh, yeah, there's a, well, we just demoed the chimney. We took the fireplace out, but we left it on the outside.
Okay, so the exterior.
We wanted it on the outside. I think Bart
Okay.
wants us to have
I
it.
didn't see it from the chimney.
We really,
Yeah, see, this,
we want to
this
end up
note
with
here
a
says
brick
remove
chimney.
existing
We
masonry
just
chimney,
rebuilt it
Fireplace rebuilt chimney.
because we kind of modified the plan.
Okay. Anything else? Barton, anything from you?
Yeah, I think the chimney really helps the front facade,
Yeah.
so glad they're keeping that. And, it's a 1949 non-contributing house. The garage addition is actually a little bit taller than the existing house. However, we recommend approval. I think the renovations will actually make the home more programmatically functional and architecturally cohesive.
Great.
Thanks.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Talavada,
Yes.
Mr. Franco,
Yes.
Mrs. Gaylord,
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Wonga.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is application 580-117 Cypress.
Good evening, I'm Dina Glenn.
Hi, I'm James Glenn.
I'm Ying Li, the architect for the applicants.
Swear in.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide on the application tonight to the commission will be the whole truth?
I do.
Yes,
Go
I
ahead.
do. Okay, so we've been in Milburn for 13 years now, in the same place on Cypress Street. And we have a freshman daughter at the high school. And we haven't done a ton of work to this house, and it's a little small and a little old, but we love the character in the neighborhood. What's happened over the dozen years or so is the sunroom off to the right of the house, which I think is original except for the bathroom someone put in at the front, has started leaking through the windows, which are original, single pane, and the roof. And then the other thing is our 15-year-old now is sort of taking over the whole downstairs floor of the house, and I think needs some space to hang out with her friends. So we worked with Ying to design something which essentially rebuilds and replaces the existing sunroom and makes it a little bit larger, going to the back of the full back of the house, and putting a laundry room in there, which is currently in our kitchen, and kind of making a little study, putting the den at the back, and having this kind of laundry bathroom area in the middle. Ying is more the expert, but I think the other thing is whoever put the bathroom in, there's just a little window at the front of the house. It looks kind of out of place, honestly. So I think this design will help restore, which was probably the original sunroom windows around the front of the house. So we're pretty happy with it and would love to get it done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So should I go ahead or do I need to run the credential?
Do you have credentials?
Your architecture license is in order, right?
Yes.
We accept you.
Okay. All right. So the subject house 117 Cypress was built in 1914. It is in the Wyoming Historic District, but it's not a designated site. We tried to look for pictures of, in the historic book, but we couldn't find any picture of this particular house. And I think the best way, maybe we just go to the half size set, like everybody, because we go by the page instead of showing the big board. So as you can see on the first L101 on the site plan, the red rectangle basically illustrates the exactly addition, the scale of the addition. Basically, it's extending the existing den on the right, the sunroom on the right, all the way back. It's literally just basic 169 square foot to the back of the house, the line of the house. And if you look at the picture, the front elevation, you can see this. Basically, it's the window, as the Jim and Dina mentioned. The bathroom must be added. The bathroom at the front must be added. Like I think they were added like 2 owners before them, and then that window, a double hung window, it looks small and out of place. But if you move toward the back of the house, you see casement windows, basically multiple bays of casement windows. They are more. We believe they're more to the character of a sunroom for the house of an era. So in our addition, we were trying to basically actually bring back the character of, say, like what is a typical sunroom in that house of era look like. So we just, the treatment of the addition is, first of all, we tucked that the bathroom in the middle between the small office and the sunroom, the den at the back. The bathroom tucked in the middle. By doing that, the front of the house and the right side corner of the house, which are the visible portion of the building, will be replaced by this repetition of this bay of 2 feet by 5 feet. We believe this actually bring the house more to the character of like a sunroom, instead of right now you have like a small, almost like a punch window in the front elevation. And also the addition essentially is at the back of the house. It's visible from the street, but you really have to look hard. And on the right hand side, between this house and the neighbor on the lower side, there are existing mature landscape. So we think it's an improvement, but if the impact on the street is a concern, I think the impact is minimum. So basically, I would say scale of the addition that is. As for the building material, we are trying to have everything matched with the existing. Right now, the basically addition follow the existing roof line. We're not changing the roof line. It's basically extending the massing. And building material-wise, we have the material match with existing will be the cedar clapboard siding. For the window, we are specifying the Pella, basically reserve, Syria traditional. And the window spec, we will say basically is the Pella window, reserve, Syria traditional. The grill will be the 7/8 grill with true divided light to keep the historical feature of the house. And then I guess to see the difference, the 2 sheets that shows the difference will be, if you see A201 and the A202, if you flip them through, actually looks best if they are like digital on the screen. You can literally see the improvement of the existing elevation and the proposed. Currently, the little window for the bathroom at the front, it looks rather silly. The new den, even though the addition was small, but actually even we're replacing that with, actually will be 18 casement windows. So that will really become a sunroom. And then there are a couple of windows. They're just basically on the second floor at the back. And also their kitchen windows. They're basically just in disrepair. So we'll replace them, but they're just going to be replacement window in the existing opening, but with the same Pella Reserve traditional series. So the other improvement is the front entry. If you look at the picture, I guess front elevation on the L101, number 2, the front elevation, and also number 4, the existing entry canopy. It has this shed look, with the it basically wasn't like well designed, well done. It has the asphalt shingle roofing facing the street, So we are changing that into more typical colonial style front entry. The same scale, same size, same projection, same wave, but with the gable side facing the street. In this way, the aspiration go, it's at least not right in your face. We believe that's an improvement to this. And the pitch of that gable will be the same pitch with the main roof. So that's basically the second improve. That's only the only second thing we're doing to this house. I think that is it.
Comments, questions?
Just have one question on the front southwest.
Southwest elevation, right?
Yeah. There is strong doors in the existing structure, but I don't see the strong windows in the new structure. Does that make it look different?
You mean the front southwest?
Yeah,
It's actually existing front door. It's not a store. Oh, you mean,
the sunroom, this.
oh, the sunroom. You mean the shutters?
Yeah, the shutters are there in the
Um,
existing one, but it looks like that's not there.
Yes, yes. I can, okay. The shutters, I believe whoever did that, is trying to match with the double hung on the side because all the double hungs has shutters. But we are trying to match. If you see the back of the house, the back and the side, right-hand side of the house, those windows, they're casement. They are more actually, we believe the original, they're more like the character of a sunroom with casement. So we believe, if you have those casement there, the sun window, actually shutter will look silly with those windows, yeah.
Anything else? Everything looks good to me. I think I agree with that small window by the bathroom, and adding the casement windows on the front's gonna make it look a lot better. And that the front roof over the porch is a definite improvement as well, so. Barton, any comments?
Would true to that thing.
We have a motion to approve. Second.
Second.
Mr. Tatalavada?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Gaylord? Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right, moving on. Next application is 54960 Linden Street.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman,
Good evening.
members of the commission and municipal staff. My name is Roosevelt Delma of the law firm Murphy Sherwin Wilkes, appearing on behalf of applicant Little Club Tennis Center LLC. Tonight applicant is before you seeking regulatory approval to demolish the existing club building and for approval of the construction of a new tennis center clubhouse with associated exterior improvements. With me tonight, I have our expert architect to help put this presentation on. So with that, I'd like to invite our project architect forward.
I will swear her in, but then we'll just wait 1 second until Liz is back. There's an easel in the back,
Right in the back right corner is an easel, if you wanna move it.
kind of works.
It's a little chunky and funky, but it works.
Is the architect the only witness?
Yes.
Okay, and what is your name?
Carolyn Young.
Okay, Ms. Young, raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you will provide on this application tonight will be the whole truth?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hi. Carolyn Young, architect, Morristown, New Jersey. License is in good standing. We were here about a year ago, I think, for sort of a preliminary review on this project. So I don't know, recognize a couple of the faces. Barton was there then as well. So tonight we're here more formally to present the 60 Linden building design for what has been known as the Wyoming Club. The club has been purchased in the past few years, and they've been renovating the tennis courts. I think they've become very active tennis courts. People are playing there. But the building that sits on the site has not been in use since they've purchased it and before. When they purchased the property, they started out by having a structural engineering report done, which is all in your package by KSI engineers. And I hope you've all had a chance to look it over, read through it. I think if you have, you will realize that in summary, the condition of the existing building is rather hazardous. The roof structure, you can see from the street, from the outside, that it's swayed. You can see that the framing is pulling away from the roof at the chimney. You can see that the front shed roof is kind of falling in, caving in a bit. The structural report goes into a lot of rationale behind why, and the valleys where the gable turns and goes the opposite direction, probably was not properly reinforced when it was constructed. And in order to do sort of repair work on these things, the recommendation of the structural report is that you really have to tear the entire roof off the building in order to rebuild it in the first place. The report goes into also a great deal of detail about the foundation of the building. There is a partial basement in one section that has a significant horizontal crack. I gather that you're in construction related industries. Horizontal cracks are bad things. Vertical cracks aren't such a big deal, but the minute you start getting horizontal crack, that's when you go, uh-oh, this is a real problem. And the report also goes on to talk about the rest of the foundation, which is not a basement. And there are photographs in the package illustrating the sort of, what's the best word? Shoddy condition of the piers, which just appear to be very temporary, very, very inappropriate for any kind of a substantial building. And, this is a building that the public will be using, so everybody has concerns about its, its structure and its usability. So there's a lot more in the report. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but hopefully you've read it. The main thing is that at the end of the report, the final recommendation by KSI Engineering is that
in their professional opinion, it is not economically or structurally feasible to salvage the first floor framing of the existing foundation walls. We recommend total removal and replacement. This, coupled with the roof condition, total demolition and replacement of the building, is the most feasible option. It also states there is a current patio that has doesn't appear to have proper footings or foundations as well. It's getting undermined with soil and just runoff, et cetera. And so, you know, with the demolition of the building, that patio would also be demolished as well. So, so in following the recommendations of the structural engineer, we are proposing to be taking down the existing building. There's a second document in your package, which was prepared in 1979. It's Milburn Short Hills Historic Structures Survey. Obviously, it was prepared by David Gibbons and Associates. I don't really know who they were, but they were obviously hired in 1979 to do an inventory of your historic buildings in your historic section of town, and to record accordingly the values and the importance of the various buildings in the historic districts. And so it's noted in this report, the building was built 1925, I think maybe 1928 is mentioned in the report that Barton has. But it's clear to say that the architectural significance, their summary was undistinguished example of style, much better examples in area. They note that architectural significance, none recorded, builder, none recorded, significance, none recorded. So it seems that at the time of 1979, I mean, the building was functioning then, it was operational, but from a historic point of view, it did not seem to have any contributing significance. It just was an existing building in the district, but not contributing to the significance, historic significance. So those are two things. And then finally, before I get into the design, there is the report that was recently prepared in April of last year, 2023, which was prepared for Barton Ross and his firm. It's a lengthy report, and it's very interesting. As a tennis enthusiast myself, I found the report to be fascinating about the initiation of bringing tennis to the United States from Bermuda, called lawn tennis at that point. And it was brought here and brought to Milburn, New Jersey by an enthusiastic tennis person. And then the report goes on to talk about the history of the parcels, which include 52 Linden and then the tennis facility, tennis property, the Wyoming Club, and how that property came to change hands and this buying and selling and subdividing of it. And it's all very interesting Milburn history. I happen to work with the current owners of 52 Linden, which is the house next door, on their renovation project over the last few years. And this report was fascinating because their property, 52 Linden, is a 60-foot wide lot when all the other parcels in the area were designed to be 50-foot wide lots when it was subdivided. And then the Wyoming Club tennis facility property is 190 feet wide instead of what would have been 200 feet wide if it had been based upon the 50-foot dimension, but because of the negotiation of the people involved at the time, 52 Linden is 60 feet and the Wyoming Club is 190. So it's all very interesting. The report goes on eventually to get to the details about the building, which is really what we're here to focus on. The building was, I think it's 20. So there's a map included in this. It's a 1928 map that shows the original building located on the site, which was just a single rectangular building. It also explains that the building was a prefab building. So it was shipped out on trains and in a prefab form and constructed here at the Wyoming site. Over the years, the building has had a couple of additions, one to the front, which is the shed roof, and a perpendicular gable facing the rear of the property. It's also had a couple little like shed-like structures sort of glued onto the side of it that faces the tennis courts. Through Barton, the report prepared for Barton, what we really get out of this is that the property and the site has significant cultural history, the game of tennis. The building was really constructed as a prefab, and it's talked in the report about being perhaps temporary, intended as a temporary structure, because they needed to do something and get some kind of a structure. But obviously it's been here all these years. It's been used for social events at some points in time. There are some photographs in the report of some sort of a party, birthday, wedding, some type of a party in a much more recent era of time. So the report is interesting, but I think it also helps to explain some of the reasons why the structure is in such bad condition, because it was a very light frame prefab building with additions that weren't well constructed, that haven't helped the existing structure. And that's where the recommendation comes to remove the entire building and have a fresh start. Okay. So, and one other comment, in addition to the structural findings, the existing building, the structural findings, I think, are most significant about the limitations with what can be done with the building. But the building is also clad with vinyl siding. It's got replacement vinyl windows in many cases. It doesn't have any historic or significant architectural details of any real notoriety. There are some old tennis rackets hanging on the walls on the inside that could be preserved for a future building wall. But as far as the building itself, there's really there's no significant details of any value. And I think that report from 1979 is also basically telling us that as well. Okay. Do I just go right into the new building proposal, Barton, or do you have to decide about the demolition?
They'll vote on the whole thing.
Whole thing, okay. Yeah, I think they want to see the whole context. Okay. Okay, so, can you see that here? Can everybody see that? Okay.
So I do have a streetscape of all the various houses and other buildings relative in the area that we can refer to as we go through this if we want to. We have the architectural plans, which I'm going to go through now, and we also have 2 3-dimensional renderings, as well as a basic landscape plan from the site engineer. So the current design that we're proposing is a rectangular building that we are situating to conform, to be more conforming with zoning requirements on the site than the existing building. The existing building does not conform to side yard or front yard setbacks. And, you know, for building a different building, it seems prudent to be more conforming with the zoning requirements. We will be going to the zoning board on this project as well because we are an existing non-conforming use. We are in a residential zone. Then this is obviously a use that has been in existence a long time, but it is a non-conforming use. So, the zoning board will be involved with reacting to all of the zoning related criteria. Similar to the existing building, the proposed building is primarily a large activity room space with supporting room structures such as toilets, a kitchenette, pantry, closet, storage, mechanical room. And storage to the back. Primarily, it's rooms that support the use of the tennis courts and activities at 60 Linden. Outside, adjacent to the activity room, we have a large outdoor patio, partially covered and partially uncovered. We have some steps going to the back and walkways down to the tennis courts. And, you know, with today's needs, we want to be able to create some shade with a covered patio. We need to comply with current building codes and have handicap accessibility compliance, handicap toilet, energy requirements for energy codes to create a vestibule, sort of an airlock when you come in the front door. So while we're thinking about, you know, replacing the building, we're also, you know, responsive to the codes that we have to comply with today. Architecturally, the bottom left drawing is the front elevation of the building. We've added a little color on the one that we have up here, not a great deal of color. We've created a front-facing entrance that has some prominence with a little portico, some brackets. We've tried to keep the materials in the vein of sort of a single story cottage. We're working with clapboard, hardy plank clapboard siding, working with board and batten. We're doing a stone base, a thin stone base around the whole building because it is close to the ground. We want to have durability concerns, make sure we have durable materials. In addition to having a front entrance to the building that comes from the street, we also have a walkway that leads you directly to the outside terrace on the side of the building, which then leads you to the steps that takes you directly down to the courts. So there are really 2 ways to approach the building, either to go into the building or to go directly outside to the tennis courts. And then on sheet A2, The drawing on the upper right is the east elevation, which is the side that faces the tennis courts. The drawing on the left is the rear elevation facing the back of the property, and the drawing on the west side is the side opposite the tennis courts. The materials are wrapping all the way around the building. We have the patio, which would be a bluestone patio with the stone base. We have a railing system wrapping around the patio, which has it's called a little detail of a square web design railing in each of the bays, sections of the railing. We've incorporated a cupola. We've been looking, and again, on the back and the sides, we've got the board and batten and the clapboard siding and the board and batten. We've got some significant roof overhangs, columns. Those are all in the package of the application. I think architecturally, we're being influenced by some materials, sort of cottage style, but we've also been looking to sort of classic tennis club buildings and field house building types, because that's really what this is. It's not a house, it is a field house for supporting the tennis club and the use of the courts and whatever activities the club is having. So it's really the idea of embracing that sort of vernacular of field house and tennis club. I think that sort of briefly summarizes. I do have existing plans. They're included in your package, so you can see basically the footprint that's there. The proposed building, in our building summary, there were numbers and square footages about the sizes of the existing and the proposed. And our proposed building is, slightly smaller than the existing, not much, but it's not larger, it's a little bit smaller than what's there.
Any questions or comments?
I think it's a nice building. Yeah, I think you guys really listened to what we said a year ago.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely appreciate all the research and the background that you've done on the history of everything, keeping in like the overall spirit of everything that's there at the tennis club. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you to Barton's history review there.
I just have a question. Does this need to have a parking lot for any place?
There's never been parking.
Okay.
I'm sure that, it's an existing non-conforming condition. It never had parking. When we get to the Board of Adjustment, that might be something that we'll be talking more about. But there is really no opportunity on the site for parking. The site plan. And obviously these are our renderings, so you get to see the 3D. The tennis courts take up more than half of the property. So there really is no opportunity to really.
Okay, I just.
Yeah.
And people park on the street now, is that the idea?
Yeah. I think the club was non-functional for a couple of years, but now for the last couple of years, they've been playing tennis and parking on the street the same way they always had.
So, I think we're all in agreement on the history. It's a circa 1925 kit building that probably came in on a rail car. And obviously it's in poor shape, it wasn't well built, and we understand that. And I think the design, as Ms. Wanga said, you listened to what we said last time. I think it's in keeping with the district, and it's very simple but nice design. My only issue I'd recommend to the commission is just better materials. So, I'd recommend more wood doors, wood windows, wood clapboards if possible, wood railings. There's a lot of beautiful brownstone out there. Instead of using this thin stone, to reuse some of that brownstone as spacing. And, even on the front, instead of the thin stone, maybe you could reuse some of the brick from the chimney or something. Something from the previous building. Maybe the masonry pieces. Anyway, that's my recommendation. Is maybe the materials could be bumped up a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, as a condition of approval, the applicant would happily work with the historical consultant to select materials in keeping with the theme of the neighborhood.
Do we want to do a motion to approve with that piece as a condition?
Yeah, we could do a motion. Yeah, they want to, there's a public comment, but you can do a motion to approve with the condition that the materials will have to satisfy our professional.
Okay.
Or come back here,
Okay.
however you want to do that.
Okay. All right, and before the motion, I'd like to open the floor to the public for public comment. So anybody that would like to come up, anybody?
Hi, good evening.
Does he need to be sworn in to?
No,
No,
your
my
name and address, we'd like.
James or Jim Gilsonen, 444 Wyoming Avenue. Our property, the corner of our property abuts the tennis courts. So, just a question and a commentary. The impervious area, is that going to remain the same? Is it greater as far with the new design?
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, questions regarding site plan and site approval and bulk standards will be heard before this municipality's land use board. So any questions regarding those items should be withheld until that time.
Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. Site plan considerations are not to be decided by this board.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fair enough.
If you can answer it and if you want to, it's not our jurisdiction,
We don't
impervious.
have our project engineer isn't here to testify to and provide his professional opinion, so.
Okay.
Right. I do have one comment relative to the design of the building. From our perspective, of course, we see it from the backside, not from the front. And I noticed on the rear, we have the shed that's on there with the shed roof. And from my perspective, it really doesn't keep in the context of the fabric of the building itself. It seems as though it's a box kind of glued on the backside. So if there's opportunities to maybe look at the roof line or blend that better into the back facade of the building, I think it's an opportunity that we should take a look at right now and do that if you can. So that's my one commentary.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Just please state your name and address.
Nancy Elder, 46 Linden Street. My question is basically what kinds of activities you are talking about, because when you talk about the parking, we now have the preschool, we have the church, we have the tennis club, and we have the Boy Scouts on Thursday nights. There used to be signs along the other side of the street where nobody could park. Now, there's only one sign. People are parking everywhere. I can barely get out of my driveway. I can barely walk my dog without getting hit by a car because people get on their phones. I know that has nothing to do with the building, but I am concerned about having more activities and how much more parking there will be. How many more cars will be, because I really can't get in and out of my house anymore. Since the tennis club is far more than it used to be. There were always activities, but now the activities have become all the time, all day. So I'm questioning
Mr.
the
Chairman,
activities.
The tennis club will be operating as a tennis club and a social club in terms of regular programming. I don't know if this is going to be marketed as an event space. Ownership's representative is here to maybe speak a little bit more closely to that, but that's our position at this point.
Okay, who's that?
Hi, I'm Robin Friedman. I'm on the board of trustees for the Maplewood Little Club. Our plan is to continue to use it as it has been used. It's been in existence for 100 years. It's been a tennis club. Prior to the Little Club taking ownership of the Wyoming Club, it was used for events. And that is still the plan. The plan is to use it exactly the same way that it has been used previously. It's a
Well,
tennis
wedding
club.
events, wedding
It's
events,
just, I think, I
party
don't think
events,
that
there
the,
were not those types of
no, and there's not, I
events.
don't think that the space, it's a smaller clubhouse now than it was previously, so there's no plan to, I think there may be rental opportunities, but certainly just given the space that it is, the size that it is, would be smaller, you know.
So can we consider putting the parking signs again?
I
So
cannot speak
that
to that because that
people
is
can
not, I don't
park
even know who
On
handles
other
it.
streets,
Chairman,
not
again,
just
respectfully.
Linden Street?
Regarding parking, that's an ordinance issue, that's gonna be some council.
I agree. That's not something we would be able to make a decision on, but yeah.
I can't speak to that, so.
Yeah.
So who would I talk to about that?
Traffic safety, circulation, and parking is all at the zoning board.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else next? Make a comment? Please come forward.
Kathleen Gilsonin, 444 Wyoming Avenue. I understand that talking about the size of the deck and the patio may be a zoning board issue. However, I think it's also a historic board issue because if we're talking about the historic integrity of the neighborhood, we really should be talking about what size has this building been historically as a part of our neighborhood. And if it's being increased, and my question would be, is the existing deck, which has historically held a certain number of people for a certain size of a gathering historically, is that being increased? And I think that's a legitimate question at the historic board question, because it does have to do with the historic integrity of that building within our neighborhood. So I would ask that question be addressed, here. I think it's more than a site plan issue.
Mr.
Chairman, I think our expert testified that the actual proposed building is smaller than the
But, sir, I'm not talking about the
Which would-
physical building, I'm talking about
which would be
patio.
inclusive of the patio. Okay.
Is that correct? The building, the physical building and the because it just looks like, and I'm not an architect, but just looking at the design, it looked to me like the covered part is taking up the existing deck, and that then and I may be wrong, but that's why I'm asking, is then the open part extending beyond? And, because if we're going to talk about the historic nature of the neighborhood, we've been in our house over 35 years, we've dealt with, this whole idea of maintaining the historic integrity. That's a part of living too. And what is the historic use of that building? And if we're expanding how many people can be in an outside venue, that's historically changing the use of it, not just in a site plan issue, but, historically with the neighborhood. So that's why my question.
Okay, can I answer?
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. In your package that was submitted, there is a project description. And in that project description, we have a series of comparisons of sizes of parts of the building, of the existing and the proposed. So the existing building is 1,879 square feet. The proposed building is 1,519 square feet. So it's approximately 360 square feet smaller than the existing building, the proposed. The existing building deliberately is smaller, as was mentioned by the club member. We've also noted that the existing patio area, which is uncovered, is 744 square feet. And the proposed patio space, which is covered, partially covered and uncovered is, the covered portion is 427 square feet and the uncovered portion is 419 square feet. So that's a total of 846 square feet versus 744. So the patio is increased by 100 square feet from what is there. So I think that answers the residents' question. We've also noted the building height differences, and we did take calculations from the engineering drawings relative to impervious coverage. And we've noted that we are actually, our impervious coverage is a reduction from 3,298 square feet down to 3,171 square feet for the impervious coverage other than the tennis courts themselves, which are remaining as they always have been with their coverage sizes.
Thank you. Whoever will be next, please.
Hi, I'm Pat Wolf. I'm at 57 Linden Street, directly across from it. I've been on the street since 1968. Moved into, and I'm in one of the oldest houses on the historic house. The increase since, I realize it's not the church, but the church had no nursery school, no nothing, no addition. The parking for the nursery school is so increased. And then since the tennis has become more active recently, both sides of the street are 100% filled in the mornings, 9 o'clock, 11:30 pickup. There's evidently one, some kids must stay till 1, I don't know. It's a lot of kids, and the tennis courts, since they've started playing in the spring here more, both sides, it's a narrow street. My driveway, you almost can't get out several times a day, every day. So that's one of my main concerns, and I want to know what I have not heard some of this. My hearing is incredibly poor. So if I'm repeating something that was answered, but I just want to know the party situation, and will it be allowed to hold more people, the maximum capacity of the actual building? There used to be a sign in it for how many the fire department allowed in it. Is that increased? I don't know, but that all is parking and noise at night. So those are just my major concerns, but there's tremendous between the two, the increased school, which has increased a lot, and then the club usage. Our little street, it's narrow. Nancy was saying you cannot get in and out. You can't get up and down. I can't go up the street and turn on Wyoming Avenue ever. I have to go down the street. It's just a lot for our little neighborhood.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think a lot with the parking, as I mentioned before, is more of a zoning discussion, probably the same thing in terms of capacity.
Correct.
As well.
To provide response to the last constituent, we've already discussed event scheduling, and with respect to capacity, we're going to comply with whatever local and state mandates are in place.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public?
Hi, good evening. My name is Conway Lee. My wife, Michelle, we reside at 53 Chestnut Street, which is the property directly downhill from the tennis courts, the actual tennis court portion. And I know some of this probably is for the zoning board, but I do think it's worth you hearing. One of our concerns is the drainage and the water flow. You mentioned impervious surface. I'm assuming you're referring to the tennis courts themselves, or no? Is that something else? Okay, well.
For the township.
Yeah, but just one of the things, and maybe this is for the zoning board, but is to understand what the drainage plan is. With the new building, I did notice gutters and leaders leading towards Chestnut to drainage. Currently, there's a unique situation on my property. We have a 6-inch PVC that runs from my back of my property straight to Chestnut Street. It's there from 1970. I'm happy to show you a letter. It was a grant of a use from way back when, previous owners and the previous Wyoming club. We continue to allow the tennis court to utilize that 6-inch pipe to drain water out from their current situation. However, with this current plan, new square footage, new drainage, we're concerned that that 6-inch PVC is not sufficient, and we want to talk about what the plans would be for that. As far as the leaders and gutters from the building itself, we would propose those need to be drained out to Linden and not back to my property. That being said, the other concern is there is a fence right now that is between the tennis court and my backyard. It's been there for as long as we've been there since 2007. It's in disrepair. It's leaning towards my property. Sometimes look, it's going to fall. We were wondering if that is something from a historic commission perspective needs to be addressed as part of the application.
Can the architect indicate whether the stormwater is contained on site, or what's happening with the stormwater, and whether the new stormwater regulations apply to this development or not, or whether they're grandfathered?
We do have an engineer, civil engineer on the project, and they're going to be the ones who can really testify to that. Again,
at the zoning board.
At the zoning board.
So that's a matter for the zoning board?
Correct.
Okay.
We'll have an entire drainage
Okay.
plan that
Understood.
will be posted ahead of the hearing that you'll be able to inspect prior to the hearing.
And I just wanted to make sure, because we didn't know if this was non-conforming, if there would be variances, or if that the zoning board would go without notice. So I just wanted to make sure, I think a number of us showed up here with concerns about the drainage. So if that's going to be at the zoning board, then we'll address that there. But I do, again, like I mentioned, the existing fence, I'm wondering, is that within the purview of this commission in terms of how to address that?
Before we leave this stormwater subject, Mr. Donat, I would ask you to take this gentleman's contact information to make sure the engineer is aware of what he's talking about with respect to the 6-inch PVC pipe, not just the gutters and leaders and where they lead.
Not a problem.
Okay?
Sure, of course.
In terms of the fence, I guess a question, is there any plan to replace or repair the existing fence?
I don't, I'll speak again, sorry. The fence that you're referring to, I believe, is just parked behind the tennis court, correct?
Right behind the tennis court.
So that doesn't actually have anything to do with the building. It's, it's like they're side by side, the building renovation. I think that that is definitely in our long-term plan, but it's not part of this immediate project.
But you will have to come back to the commission for the fence.
I assume so, yes, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Would
It's
it
been
help-
there, so we inherited that fence
Yes,
too. That's not a great
Yeah,
fence.
would it
We
be helpful
agree.
to show a picture to the commission, or I have it on my phone? No?
It's not before the commission.
It's
Okay,
not
it's
part of this
not- okay.
project,
It's
right?
not.
We're only done with the other side.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Hi there, Mehul Shah, 57 Chestnut. We're the house directly behind the clubhouse of Wyoming.
And Tara Nazareth.
Tara Nazareth, yes.
We've been there since 2008,
2010. I wanna-
10.
Yeah, 2010. So we just prepared a little statement. I know some of this stuff is going to be for the zoning board, but it's fair for you guys to hear it because it's been an ongoing issue. First of all, right now out my back window, all I see is a porta potty. That's the view I've had for the last 3 years since they took it over. But here we go. For the record, since the Maplewood Tennis Court took over, we have experienced significantly increased water onto our property to the point of where it has impacted our landscaping and lawn, provided breeding grounds for mosquitoes, in the past excessive numbers of rodents, and now floods our shed as well. We have pictures of all of this, right? It's cracked our shed. The pictures of the ladder have been shared with the HPC. I think we had sent it over to Barton and we've taken a look.
And you distributed that, thank you.
Yeah, so thank you.
So there's also been recent foliage changes that have created like a lake that literally sits in the backyard of the club. And we have a new fence we put in through the, approval of the historic committee. That's actually it's sitting in water, it's submerged in water.
Anytime it rains.
Send a picture over of that. There's leakage to our property and immediately, our property, the lease property, and then properties down the street. We have another neighbor here that's also experiencing water, and 2 neighbors down. So this is a problem 5 houses down at minimum down the block. And basically, Conway pointed out that right now the current measures are overwhelmed. The water, we need much greater measures. We need more extensive measures that we can all talk about and make sure that the water coming from the club is not impacting the rest of our properties. Mehul spoke to, our lawn, our shed, water's coming towards our house, and we've had to absorb the impact of all that from a monetary standpoint, a time standpoint, and various control measures that we've implemented over the years. So while this may not be HPC, we did sit through the first hearing. We did hear that certain things HPC is concerned about that would come on the board. One of those things could be the sound issues that we have. Over the years have been parties. They've gone way past the time that they're allowed. There are no trees that we can see from,
Our property. Yeah, so they
so
have
we
a
can see
direct
directly
view
into
into
their
our bedroom.
property when they rebuild. We'll see each other, hear each other. Could we have some trees planted, like that first neighbor who was coming in wanting to build a tennis establishment on their property? Could there be some more foliage? Basically a physical barrier, a noise barrier, a sound barrier.
Yeah.
Right now, you can hear people grunting as they hit the
Hit the
tennis
tennis
balls
balls.
back, and we get tennis balls on our property every
So
day.
it's
So
definitely
there's,
over
there's about
55
a
decibels.
10-foot gap actually between the tennis court and us, and a 6-foot fence. That's all that's been permitted.
Yeah.
So we have that issue.
And on top of that, the parties that have happened in the past, we've actually had to call the police out. On my phone, I've registered at my fence, which is about 40 feet away from where the speakers were set up on the patio, 80 decibels.
Yeah,
It
so
was
we've been dealing with this
reverberating
for a
off
long
of
time.
homes in the area.
So-
Like, this is the type of stuff we're gonna experience.
So
because this is
basically,
gonna
while
be a
some of
party
this
venue.
belongs at this council and some doesn't, we just want to make sure that we're part of the process to see how this place gets rebuilt. It gets rebuilt thoughtfully for all the neighbors, ourselves included. And we don't have to deal with damage control or proactively dealing with another property's water measures, most importantly. But there are a lot of issues that we've outlined. And
Mr. Chairman, if I may, we are happy to consider everything that's happened. This is going to be a robust process. Today, we're here for approval for demolition. We have to go before the zoning board. There'll be a full review of drainage plans, utility plans.
We would like to be included.
how
Yeah.
will the residents be
We're
included in that
happy.
process?
There's a notice process. There'll
Well,
be
the notice for this only went out 5 days in advance or 7 days in advance. We got it.
for a zoning board hearing. There's a different statutory.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's the notice period on that?
At least 10 days before the hearing.
We think the
At least
building
10
is done really nicely. We just want to make sure the legacy issues,
Yeah.
which we know we've inherited, are now corrected, because this is the time to stop the flooding, to stop, to start maintenance on a regular basis, and to put up a sound barrier.
Whatever drainage, stormwater,
And trees, please.
and provisions that are on record with the municipality today will be compliant with, and we'll be engaging in the process.
And another thing, are you planning on putting up any lights around the tennis court?
No.
No, so it's gonna be exactly the way it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know it's late. Appreciate you guys hearing us
Yeah,
out.
well, thank you.
Thank you for the concerns. Appreciate it.
I have a question. Can we sort of marry the demolition permit with all of these things being approved at zoning? Like, because I know, like we're kind of putting them together with the building, but if they don't get all these drainage issues, I don't want somebody to say, but we have a demolition permit and demo the building when we don't have like the next steps of what's gonna happen there, I guess. Right? Like, are we?
Okay, I want to make sure I understand your question, but where I thought you were going was, can you issue an advisory report to the zoning board? And the answer is yes, and it sounds like you probably want to do that. So you're going to be voting on assuming somebody makes a motion on the demolition of the existing building and the approval of the, what's in your jurisdiction for the new construction. Stormwater is a municipal issue as well as DEP. So all their stormwater concerns should be taken care of through the engineers and at the zoning board.
I guess my question is,
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I don't think I captured really your whole question.
yeah, no, my question was, can we make the demolition permit sort of predicated on the fact that they get all the stormwater stuff? Because I don't want them to demolish the building and then not actually be able to build what they came here for, right? Like that would be my concern, is that we demolish the building and then we never build anything.
Council, what we're not gonna demolish a building if we can't build.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's your plan?
We need this approval to move to the next. step.
Right, but you're not planning on demolishing until you get all your approvals?
No.
Okay, and do you know the answer to the question on the DEP stormwater regulations? I don't wanna press you if you don't
Yeah,
know.
our engineer, we have a civil engineer engaged for the
Okay.
project.
All right,
The engineering firm is working on all of the compliance and stormwater management and, the concerns of the neighbors have been heard already. The tennis club board is aware of the issues and
okay, I
all
understand,
that will be dealt with at the zoning board.
okay,
So is this approval for demolition or new construction or both?
it's both. It's an application for both.
And will they address this parking problem?
That's, I think
They
that's
will.
zoning, that's
They
zoning
will.
as well.
But is
Yeah.
that zoning or?
That's zoning board.
So not the township regulatory system, police and all that sort of thing? I mean, my street apparently is only supposed to be parking on one side of the street. We had a person parking on our street for 3 years because she was the nanny of a baby who was born 3 years ago. And we finally went up to her and said, look, my husband and I are having difficulty getting out in front of the house. We're having difficulty walking now. People they have to park in front of our sidewalk in order for us to get in the car. If they have a door open or are blocking the way, we have trucks coming by who are just banging on them on their horns. Get the person out of the way.
That's not taken care of at any land use board meeting, though. That's for enforcement. That's for the police department,
Well, but they need to
traffic
have,
safety.
but they're talking about getting or
I understand what you're saying.
they need to get.
They may need an ordinance passed with respect to regulating the parking.
And they need to have somebody.
That's the governing body, and then it's up to the police or whichever department controls traffic safety to enforce any ordinance that they may ask the governing body to adopt for parking restrictions. Like when you make a street, one side only, or no parking at night, or whatever. Okay.
So may I ask one more thing? With regards to the physical barrier, during presentation number 1, we heard that, 75 trees have been planted around the tennis court structure that was being planned. Is there any recommendation from HPC? I mean, we're ready, we share the backyard, we can hear, we can see, there are barely any trees. In fact, trees have been taken down or, foliage has been taken down. Is this the jurisdiction of this committee to recommend that there be trees put around a non-residential property to protect the residential properties around it from sound and from?
Mr. Chairman, respectfully, again, this application will be going before the zoning board, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a landscaping plan, and
Well, that was commented on in the first session today.
So there may be,
So why
there's
isn't
an
it
entire,
in
there's
scope
an
now?
entire board, there's an entire.
Again, it
board.
was in scope during the first
It should
session.
be in
so-
scope with this session as well.
The first application tonight was not going to a second board. Everything was being held for approval by this board, and I believe this board was being very particular about things that are really more of a zoning board level of discussion. Since this application is going to the zoning board, that will be scrutinized, carefully and thoroughly at the zoning board.
Fair enough.
So can they not first do the zoning board then come to HPC, or is that HPC needs to do?
No,
this?
we're first, and then.
Also, I'd like to add, for those of you that are concerned about the parking or perhaps the lack of enforcement, I would encourage you to reach out to the township committee. You can send an email. I'm the deputy mayor, so I'll mention that, but it'd be helpful if you guys sent some emails. Then we could see what, we could do on a municipal level. Maybe there's more enforcement. Maybe the police need to do some ticketing. Maybe there needs to be better signage. But those issues are not
Yeah.
issues
No,
that this board
that's
can
fine.
consider. So there are other avenues that you can pursue, and, I'm sure there's others that would be willing to help with that.
Thank you.
We have one more person in the back.
Hi, I'm Judd Abramson. I live at 51 Chestnut. I'm going to keep this very brief, just kind of piggybacking on the point you just raised. So I live next door to Conway, and the pipe that he mentioned that's running from the tennis court down to the street in front of us, all that water is like spilling out onto the street, and it just sits in front of my house essentially. And because it's a clay tennis court, when it rains a lot, it's this bright green water that's just standing in the street. I know that that's a municipal problem. I guess my first question is, what town agency would be responsible for addressing that kind of thing? But I also think it's feeding back into the larger point, which is there needs to be a more comprehensive solution to the water management for this tennis court, which is creating issues for the entire street, and creating an unsightly mess in front of my house. So who would I, if I wanted to call the town and say, hey, town, like.
Mr. Jonat, would you take this gentleman's contact information as well? And the answer to your question is Public Works and engineer. There's an engineer for the town, whether it's in-house or a retained engineering firm, but the engineer deals with stormwater.
Okay, it does seem like there should be a solution that gets the water more directly into drainage.
I'm sure Mr. Sacamandi will advise you who the engineer is.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can reach out to the town business administrator, Alex McDonald, and he will get you in touch with the appropriate party if he can't deal with it directly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have anybody else that is come forward?
Hi, I'm Teresa Montone Cukin. I grew up in the Wyoming section. I took tennis lessons at the Wyoming Club, as did my sister and brother, who all live on Wyoming Avenue with me. If you look at the aerial image, I should have been served to find out about this. The map, I'm right on the edge of it, so I didn't know about it, except my neighbor told me. But I want to address a couple of things that are my concern. I think when you build a new building in a bedroom community in a very small neighborhood like this, you are doing it because you expect to use it more and you expect it to be used on a regular basis. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. I have a concern about that because when I grew up there and my kids took lessons there 15 years ago, everybody walked there. Very few people park there because it is a neighborhood club. And so it has extenuating use. I don't remember what the term is, but a different type of use for that neighborhood. When you have a club that's not based in Millburn, that purchased this property in Millburn, by virtue of that, people have to drive there to get there. Pat, she's being nice about it. Her driveway is blocked all the time from people. They're parking, they're playing in the mornings. I'm blocked from people going to nursery school. When the church did all of those improvements in this little neighborhood of ours, it's used extraordinarily more than we thought that they were going to use it, because that's what happens when you redo a building. So we are crammed in this tiny neighborhood with those two buildings, unfortunately, right near each other. That's an eyesore, the building that's there. We all want it gone. I understand that. And I respect that you're trying to do it as nicely as possible. I live in an 1870 tower house right next to you. I appeared before you guys 15 years ago and could not get an approval until every single material that I used was approved. Every window, every piece of wood. I really appreciate that you said that, because, and someone else made a comment about it's a simple look. The neighborhood is not simple. We have beautiful Queen Anne Victorians, all these, it's a beautiful neighborhood with beautiful houses there. And I really respectfully request that we really make sure that every single component of this new building is going to be equally as beautiful to what we have. I look at the front elevation. I thought it was the back. I thought it was the side. I don't think it brings any character. I'm sorry to be so critical. I don't think it's as pretty as it can and should be quite easily. So there are a couple of things that I think that we're not really at a place to approve that yet. You look at all the people that waited to the very end of this meeting just to voice our concerns. And it's not that anybody's against it. I don't think that's the thing. But there's a lot that needs to be done before we really understand what this is going to be and what it's going to look like. So I respectfully request that we take the time to get this right, because we want it to be a vibrant part of the community, but something that we can all live with, because right now we can't live with what's happening right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay. In terms of motions, would anybody like to make a motion to approve? Or approve with conditions?
It's definitely approved with conditions.
Yeah.
We have to talk about what those conditions are. Definitely looking at materials.
Definitely,
Reviewing those.
definitely materials.
Yeah.
A lot of the other stuff, the concerns raised for us are more zoning board, things that we can't, they don't really predicate our decision. We're just deciding whether or not the structure can come down and what they're building is adequate for a historic district.
You can do a separate letter from the CA to the zoning board with other recommendations that maybe aren't on HPC purview directly.
Yeah, that's what I meant by advisory board, an advisory report to the zoning board, a separate letter. But right now, the only condition which is in the jurisdiction is the approval of all the materials. And the question is whether you want them to come back here or you want Mr. Ross to approve that or approve it in consultation with the committee, however you want to do that.
Could it get kicked to the minor work committee, or would that make more sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So we will motion to approve on the condition that materials are approved at a later date by the minor work committee.
Submitted to Mr. Ross and approved by the
Barton.
Mr. Ross and the minor work committee.
Okay.
But you should specify that the motion to approve is for the demolition as well as the new construction.
Okay, so motion to approve demolition of the existing structure and the new construction as presented, based on them providing and us approving of material, or approving of materials along with the minor work committee.
So there will be a letter sent to the zoning board with all the concerns of the resident.
We will also do that, right? It will send a letter to the zoning board as well with the concerns raised. Yes. Is there anything else we'd like to add to the motion before we look for a second?
Are we allowed to make the demolition permit based on the approval of the zoning board? Like, so they can only demolish it if the zoning board approves? I guess, I don't know, because to me, that's I know that they're not, I know we've had other buildings where people are just looking to demolish, so that now they're like, there's no building here, so here, you gotta do something, but.
Mr. Chairman, if we could, again, our intention is not to demolish until we receive approval from the land use board of this municipality. However, if you've read the report of the engineer, there are some significant structural issues at play in between now and the zoning board, to the extent some part of the building falls and it needs to be demolished. I think we need to have something on record that we can move forward.
Yes, if the structure becomes untenable and they have to take it down because of that, I guess that's.
Yeah, I mean, that's an
something
emergency and,
Yeah.
you probably have to ask for an emergency permit to do that, even if you have the approval. I think the answer to your question is no. I really haven't thought about it, but it definitely doesn't work that way. And we're actually lucky in this township that everything comes to us first, because the idea is that we're supposed to be informing the design and the aesthetics before it goes to the land use boards, who concern themselves with that too, but generally they're mainly concerned with other things. So, zoning and site plan and so on and so forth. So I think though that even though my answer is no, sort of from a jurisdictional perspective, they can't approve it without us. So it's kind of a reverse yes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
We've had a tough time enforcing it, as you know, in the past too,
that's
because
fine.
once it's down, it's like you can't force them to start a building like the next morning or something.
And that's more residential usually, exactly. It's a little different, but-
Okay, do we have a second Okay, Chris?
Mr. Chadallavada?
Just want to add the comment, there should be a letter going with all the resident concerns to the zoning board. And the materials used and some of the historic chimney bricks, all of those I recommend to be incorporated. Assuming the minor work group takes care of that, I approve to pass this motion.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Gaylor?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Wanga?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, everybody, for your concerns. And I, obviously, as we stated, please join the zoning board when they go ahead for approval there. They can address everything you guys are worried about.
We have a couple resolutions.
We still have a few things that we have to go over. Thank you. Okay, we have a couple resolutions.
We have 3 resolutions in the consent agenda.
Oh,
So we'll just.
this exemption memorandum.
Thank you.
So it's the,
This is to install 5 new double hung windows.
No. It's the resolution.
Those are just FYI.
Oh, these are just
Those are the
FYI.
consent agenda items, it's the resolution, so it's on the agenda.
it says memorialization.
Oh, memorialization. Oh, okay, there we go. All right, sorry about that. All right, application 569-141 Forest Drive. And this is from May 2nd, so again, this would have to be just myself and all the people that are here, right?
All the people that were here.
Yeah, so it would be.
What are we talking about now?
You, Mr. Jenkins, Mrs. Gaylord, Mr. Frankel, and Mr. Chadallavada.
Okay.
What
We have
is-
a motion to
which-
approve. These are memorializations from last month's meeting that we've already approved.
Okay.
So we need a motion to approve in a second. For application 569-141 Forest Drive. I'll second.
Mr. Chadallavada?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
She was.
Oh, okay.
Miss Gaylord?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes. Okay, moving on to application 579-91 Western Drive. Motion to approve.
Motion approved.
And I'll second.
Mr. Chadallavada?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Miss Gaylord?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes. All right, application 576 is 445 Wyoming Avenue. A motion to approve.
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Chadallavada?
Yes.
Mr. Frankel?
Yes.
Mrs. Gaylord? Mr. Jenkins?
Yes. All right, and then consent agenda items are where?
Those are the two,
Those are the 2 things that I had.
those are the 2 things that you had, the exemption,
Okay, the exception
there were
memorandum.
2.
This is for,
Yeah.
I just have to, into the record that they're being done. So this is an exemption from 109 Glen Avenue. They're installing 5 new windows that I imagine are direct replacements for what's there.
That's why they're exempt.
Oh, okay. That's it. Okay. And 109 Forest Drive. This is a removal of a greenhouse, historic greenhouse installation of polycarbonate panels, it's replacing glass, correct? Right. I think we talked about this.
They no longer even make it that size.
Yeah. And there's some. 109 Forest Drive. Okay. And then is that this one that we have the pictures?
Probably that's the other one.
Okay, that's why, okay.
We sometimes include a photo if it makes a difference.
Oh, okay. So this was one on, so this one probably should have that one, yeah, okay. And we don't have a chair's report or anything else that we have to go over?
That's up to you.
It's my first time and it's past 10 o'clock, so I think everybody wants to go home,
You
so.
can assign people.
All right, so, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Adjourn.
Good job.
Great job.
That was fun.